Okay, so we're back for this part 3 of this epic interview with BornFree. We've talked about thuggery. We tried to define thuggery, put it in a little box. We talked about surprises. What's next?
I mean, I would love to see. I don't know when the new patch is dropping, and I don't know if Daigo will have time, but it would be interesting to see how strong Ryu is, or how much better Ryu is now. And I'd love to see
Okay.
Daigo playing as Ryu. It's not, sorry, that's not a prediction. It's just something which I
Right.
would like to
Oh, yeah,
see.
yeah.
In regards to predictions, you know, I just want to see Takedo do well. Like, I just really want to, because, like, you know, I love Akuma. Akuma is not a simple character to master. Very difficult character to master. If anyone can do it, it's Takedo, and he is Akuma. Like, that's what I love, is when when a player becomes a character. You know,
Right.
Daigo is Ryu, and Takedo. If anyone has that claim to be Akuma, it's Takedo, the murder face. You know, I would just love him to get better and better with Akuma. I don't know if Akuma's good enough this season. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But I would love to see Takedo do well. And of course, you know, I think, you know, people like Punk and Knuckle and Smug. I love seeing those guys. You know, the new guys, the new guys on the block. I love their little rivalry. I love the little banter they have going on between the three of them. I think that's hilarious, and it's very human, and it's very awesome, and it's also very savage at times, but in a clever and funny way. But
Yeah.
that's my style. That's the kind of thing that I like. It might not be the kind of thing that everyone likes. You know, a lot of people, you know, maybe some people want to see punch ups. I don't know. But I mean, but I would like to see those guys do well. I'd like to see their rivalry. I think they're funny. But I definitely want to see Takedo do well with the Kuma. How about you? I mean,
there's two things that jump out at me. One is there is this curiosity in me about Wolfkrone winning this thing.
Oh my god!
I don't know why, but I'm just like, what would happen, like, in the universe? Like, how would this shape and affect the universe if Wolfkrone won this thing? But
Well,
ultimately, I think similar to what and look, I understand with Tokido, yes, he's Akuma, but I think as you and I have gotten to know him, he's just a great dude. So he's easy to root for. Um, you know, I remember at CEO 2016, I was like, I had anxiety through the whole event because I just wanted him to win so bad. Xian wasn't there, if I recall. So this leads to I guess what I want to see most is I really want to see, I want to see Xian win.
Xian would be a great one to. I mean, I love Xian. I think
I'm
he's
like
amazing.
Z. I can't. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like Z. Like I am riding the Xian train, but I think one of the reasons that I love watching Xian play, one of the reasons I want to see him win these big events so much, especially like Capcom Cup or Evo or whatever, is because I know how much or how hard he works. I know how much he wants it, and to fall short as much as he has, like at Capcom Cup, to not make top 8 by like a match at Evo and Capcom Cup last year. I know that stings, you know, and he played a terrible character last year. So he's playing a better character this year. It's still a work in progress. I think we saw that between final round and now.
Yeah.
But Xian's a good dude, you know, and he's great on social media. He's the Xian Pai. Everyone wants, you know, Xian Pai to succeed. And I would nothing could make me happier than to see him standing up there holding, like, I don't know how much first place gets, but whatever that big check is, I want to see him holding that big check.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't not want Xian to win. I think he's an awesome dude. He really is, just really great guy, and a great player, and younger than I thought, actually, because he has a very wise way about him, and it feels like he's been around forever. He's like 26, you know, and to me, I'm just, you know, if I had my shit together like he does at 26, I'd be running the world right now. You know,
it took some time for him to get there, but he's still getting there.
Yeah.
BornFree, you've been gracious with your time. Producers are yelling at me. They're like, "Dude, finish it up." No, they're not really, but we could probably talk all day. But
I was looking at my notes to see if there's anything else worth talking about. So
I think they want to go
there's so
home. But
much. Like, I just felt Z was the like, if we were going to talk about like the commentary team, like, I mean, I would just say it now. Like, like, in terms of like the commentary team,
Yeah.
I thought they all did a really good job. Like you said, Richard Lewis did a good job of being the protagonist and the host.
Yeah.
You know, sort of pushing them. I thought he gave Sajam quite a hard time initially, and but he loved Tasty Steve, and Tasty Steve's always great and fun. Just has that exuberance back. But I think they're all really.
Tasty Steve has really impressed me in the last few months, because I mean, I don't feel like he's I don't feel like he was a bad commentator by any stretch. But if you look at those 4 guys, and I think Rip did really well and surprised a lot of people, but I think if you look at those 4 guys and you go back over, you know, their commentary, maybe specifically with Street Fighter, because I feel like Tasty Steve's strengths were in other games.
Yeah.
I feel like he is the one that has improved the most by leaps and bounds. And when I was watching at Final Round, I had to send him a text when it was over. I'm like, dude, you were so good. And what surprised me was like how well he got as sort of like the lead. I mean, if you saw him on this broadcast on ELeague, he was primarily always in that seat right next to Richard Lewis, which was kind of like the alpha seat. You know, a little bit like he was always kind of the. Yeah, so I thought he was great, and yeah, Z was fantastic. Z was an interesting case because Ultra David tweeted about this. Z is obviously an interesting dude, and he has a wonderful personality that is sometimes lost upon, you know, the esports commentary. He kind of has to hold back a little bit, but I thought he was in great position to do really well to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, he held back initially, I felt like, and then the more the more that he went for it, he was great. And there was this sort of context thing going on where they sort of helped each other. So there was a moment, I think there was a moment where Richard had, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he did some crazy play on words. Oh, it was about Balrog. It was like a Lord of the Rings reference about Balrog. And everybody said, Z is sitting backstage right now going, God damn, that's good. And I wish that had been me. And why, you know, because I think the context, but what was brilliant about that was they were telling everybody, this is the type of commentator Z is. You know, like it was like they were helping each other out in that context and giving each other context. And I love Z. I think Z's amazing. And I yes, he does sometimes, you know, left to his own devices, goes somewhere, you know, some other plane of, you know, he's an incredibly, amazingly intelligent and creative guy, and he just goes somewhere else, you know, and he needs somebody to reel him back in. And you look at him and you go, I don't know if he'd work in esports, because you have this idea of what esports is. And I think ELeague did this sort of thing where they said, well, you do have an idea of what esports is, but we're not necessarily going to run with that. We're going to sort of create our own thing. And I think that's ultimately, at the end of the day, why I was tuned in every single day and was having fun. Like, at the end of the day, I was tuned in and I was having fun. The big question, I think, going forwards is, are we about to see some war between the
commentator war? A civil war between the commentators?
Not the commentators, but like within the FGC. You know, like what you know, we've already seen the starts of it on Twitter, right? Like people, you know, like the old heads versus the new, I don't want to call them the new heads. I just want to say I'm like the alternative heads. You know, like there's the people who've been around for 20 years, who've been doing this for 20 years and running tournaments for 20 years. And some of them are saying, I love ELeague. I think it's great and great alternative. And others are sort of saying, I don't know, you know, and others are being like, I hate it, you know. So like, are we about to see a bit of a blow up in that context, you know? Yeah. But time will tell. I think there's an opportunity for them both to exist. I just hope it doesn't all end up in a place where it's kind of like everything is invite only and You can't get
Right.
anywhere near the players, and you'll never get to play them. And if you ever want to talk to them, you got to stand next to a rope, next to a red carpet, and ask for their autograph. Because that I'm not down with. That's just not my thing. That's why I've always loved the FGC. So hopefully the two coexist, and hopefully the players continue to play in the big open tournaments like Evo and CEO and all the tournaments that we love.
Yeah, I mean, I personally feel like there's room for all of it. I think there's room for both, but ultimately, yeah, I think it's on the players. And, this is where I think player responsibility comes in, giving back to the scene. It's more than, and it goes beyond just showing up. Some of these guys are doing great things, cultivating their scenes, especially in regions that they don't have a lot of young players. So I do feel like there's room for both. I feel like there is room to be FGC. Like we can kick back and relax, like, hey, we're FGC. And then there's room for, well, we're esports, we're ELeague, whatever, right?
Yeah.
BornFree, you've been super gracious.
Let me ask you one question just before we go.
Yeah.
I know you've tried to close it out like 4 times now, and I'm being really but I just want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to be received well on TBS?
So I think this goes back to when I was talking about what we look at as a success as far as viewership. When you look at a Twitch stream that has Street Fighter V with like 30,000 viewers, like for the most part, that's a pretty good stream, right?
Yeah.
Viewer wise, I know that ELeague has done well with CS:GO. I mean, I don't expect the same type of numbers that CS:GO has gotten. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what they are, but I do recall the last season. There were reports of like, hey, we broke records. This is the highest viewership we've had. Blah blah blah. I think if ELeague and TBS sort of tempers their expectation as far as what they consider successful, then I think I think it'll be fine. Numbers wise, I don't know what that means. Like maybe they get, I don't know, 500,000 viewers a week. I don't know, on TBS. Maybe they get 50,000 viewers each night or 80,000 viewers on Twitch each night, right? Mm-hmm. What I do think is, I do think that this game is in a good position, and the competition in the FGC is in a good position that this will be successful enough that I'm sure they would be more than willing to consider doing another one. And, then does it grow beyond that, which I'm sure CS:GO on ELeague did between, their first and second season. So it's hard to say like what determines success, I guess. But I do think people will definitely tune in. I think it's going to start out great. I think, viewers are probably going to drop over the weeks, but then once we get to like the top 8, that finals, I think everyone's going to tune in. Maybe it pulls Evo numbers, maybe it pulls Capcom Cup numbers. I don't know. I think it's a different production. I think it's definitely a different production than Evo and Capcom Cup. So I think it has that going for it. That narrative and the things that they've built already with those 4 days definitely contributes. So if you're holding a gun to my head and asking me if this is successful or not, I say yes, obviously with the idea that we kind of temper what our expectation is. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's going to be good.
And do you think it will? I'm asking you because I'm really interested, just to get a perspective on it. I actually am not. I don't know yet. But do you think it will capture the imagination of people who don't play fighting games, and they'll go, I'm going to go play Street Fighter now? Because that's really, what's got, if we're on TV, like, really, at the end of the day, what you want to be doing is bringing in people to play. The game should be in good shape. Hopefully, like the idea, you should have the game in good shape. And then what you want is people to come in and and probably play. I mean, it's pretty hard to just get people to spectate.
I don't know that it translates like that, because I think when you look at other larger esports, yes, there are people that play these games, but I think when you look at some of the larger esports, there are people who are fans of these teams and these games, but that don't necessarily play. I don't know that my expectation is you put this on TV and all of a sudden you've got this influx of players coming in. Yes, there are people that are going to be like, that'd be kind of cool. There's going to be people that played Street Fighter like, oh, I had no idea. Maybe I should go check it out. Yeah. I actually think that this is more. I actually think that they will appeal to more people who might be willing just to tune in. If this thing's entertaining enough, whether it's the matches or the production, I think it's appealing enough for people to go, you know, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'll tune in, you know, the next big event or like Evo or whatever, right? I don't necessarily feel like this is a play to transform these viewers into players, because that's one of the things right now is fighting games as an esport. Most of us are still players, right? We go to a tournament, we play, and then we go 0-2 or whatever, and then we watch the rest of the time, right? This is still very much an esport where the majority of us are still actually players, whether it's casual or hardcore. I don't know how much that changes because of ELeague, but I do feel like this is more of a grab for like, hey, let's just get some viewers. And I can kind of see that working more than like, hey, we're going to throw this on TV and we're going to get a lot more players now.
Right. So for you, it's more about making a bit of noise. Like, there's this thing, Street Fighter, and it exists, and it's kind of cool to watch. Like,
I think it's that, and it's like, if you're looking at it from the esports perspective, nobody knows how anybody makes money in esports. And I think if you build an audience that they're viewers, they're consistent viewers, they're fans of players, teams, whatever, they start buying Echo Fox stuff, they start buying Daigo stuff, whatever. I feel like that's sort of the esports side of it.
Well, the money usually comes from DLC, right? For players. It's like honestly, like that CS:GO, the amount of money they make out of DLC is ridiculous, right? But if it's spectators and you have an audience, then I guess the money comes from sponsors, right? Like, because more sponsors will be interested, investing money, bigger audience, blah blah blah. So it could be that, I guess. I guess my big question, and I don't have the answer in terms of business model, is it better to recruit players and have them buy DLC and the game, or can you have people who are literally just there to watch? Are we at that stage yet? And I don't know, not convinced that we are at that stage where you can just have someone who's kind of like a fan of watching, you know? I think there can be a moment in time where they turn over and go, this is interesting. But like, to bring them back, I don't know if we're set up to do that yet, you know, in the way that some of those bigger esports where they have the teams and you support a team and all that sort of stuff.
I don't know that we're at that point either, but I think when you talk about bringing in new players, this would be an ideal point where they would have a Super Street Fighter V, and they're throwing that out to all these potential viewers, because, you know, you've got this game that shipped over a year ago, and it's still a work in progress in a lot of ways, or in some ways. And I don't really know how you kind of market that to someone that's never seen it before, right? Like, yes, you can, I guess, but I just feel like this would have been a prime opportunity to like, hey, here's Super Street Fighter V, and look at this cool stuff.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. It wouldn't surprise me if this year, on 30th anniversary, after everything we've been through on Street Fighter V, that they did actually decide to do a relaunch with Super Street Fighter V. Even though they said they didn't, it makes most sense to actually do that. It wouldn't surprise me if at ELeague they said they put together some sort of little trailer which sort of teased Super Street Fighter V, and then we saw it, at E3 and San Diego Comic-Con, you know. And then it came out, let's say, towards the end of the year or after Capcom Cup. That actually wouldn't surprise me. And then they'd have and then next up would be Marvel. So I guess ELeague is what it is. I think probably the goal is awareness. Like, you know, discussing it with you now, I'm thinking the goal is awareness. I think the goal is this game exists.
Exactly.
You know. So we got there. High five.
We're there.
We're there. Look at us. We figured it out.
All right. Well, that's it. That's all. Just we'll draft it up and send it off.
Yeah, the business plan, right? The business plan.
All right. Well, we've talked about a lot of different things. You have been super gracious with your time. I always appreciate it. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you at some point this year.
Hope so.
Not sure when that is, but
travel, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you'll find a job and you can't do these things anymore. I don't know. How you pay for all your toys right now, I have no idea. But
I don't have many toys. My toys were ordered 2 years ago. They're statues that were pre-ordered 2 years ago. So they're all arriving at the moment. But like, I don't have any. I have.
When you had money,
I can't buy anything anymore.
Remind everyone where they can find all of your stuff, because of course you do great content on YouTube, great interviews.
Yeah, 2 places you can find me most active. I'm most active on Twitter every day, pretty much, at BornFree Tweets. Pretty easy to remember. And then on YouTube, it's BornFree YT. Yeah, there's bunch of interviews on there, bunch of statue reviews, bunch of speculation videos, I got a show sort of thing. I got a few other types of show. I'm gonna have to bring you on soon, but it's not gonna be as classy as this. It's gonna be like, I won't have like the special Skype box which boosts the signal, right? So you get perfect sound. It's gonna be like you slumming it. You're gonna be slumming it. It's like, this is esports, and like you're gonna come back to the FGC. Like it's gonna be the equivalent, you know?
Yep.
But we'll do that. We'll do that in the future soon. But thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy having these chats, and it feels like we could go on for days, to be honest.
I know.
But
I think we're yelling back there in LA.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think we're actually currently missing the TBS ELeague show.
It might be. So we might have to go tune into that.
Oh, actually, I think it starts maybe it's on Twitch at 10. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Anytime. And, looking forward to seeing you again. Until then, I guess I'll just have to catch your wonderful, beautiful face on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, definitely. That's just make sure you're subscribed, because everybody's like, I watch you all the time. Oh, I'm not subscribed. I need subscribers. Subscribe.
Yeah. Well, you guys can subscribe to Yahoo Esports. All right, BornFree. Thank you again. I gotta cut you loose, but can't wait to talk to you soon in person, man.
All right, dude. I'll catch you later.
See ya.